This is the fourth video on writing formal lab reports. We're going to talk about the last two sections, the discussion and conclusion. So we've already talked about title, abstract, introduction, method, materials, results, and references. If you need to refer to any of these sections, for example, you're going to use references in your discussion section, so you can go to the introduction video for that. You will also have figures and tables likely in your discussion section. The method and results video covers that. So for the discussion, this is where all of the analysis occurs. For each purpose stated in the introduction, you should interpret what the data means and how that relates to your purpose. Describe any patterns or relationships that you see within the data, and provide some references from other results that may show why your data is true or why it may be false, or what is different between results that you have researched and results that you obtained from your lab. When possible, some interpretations can be supported by these results, and you would use embedded citations for any research that you do in this section. If there are discussion questions that are given, you answer them in the discussion section. Now, if a teacher gave you 3 discussion questions to include in your formal lab report, they don't want you to say, question 1, restate the question, and then have an answer. Work it into the narrative. This discussion section should be in a few different paragraphs, broken up by tables and data, tables and figures that may help your analysis. So your questions should go within those sections. Integrate your questions. It says integrate your answers to those questions within the paragraph discussion section. Any possible sources of experimental error that impact the results should be stated and made here. You can also make suggestions as to how to eliminate some of these errors. Note that human error is not something that you should include in a formal lab report. Because you can't precisely read one of the measurements, or because you spilt some of the solution, those shouldn't be errors that you include in the lab report. For the first, you're going to read the measurement as precise as your method of measuring allows you to. And for the latter, if you've spilt something during the lab, you should have redone the lab properly without that spilled data, and then never mention it within your actual discussion. The whole discussion section should conclude with a statement about any new findings, and maybe reference the hypothesis that you introduced in the introduction, if there was one. Finally, you should have a conclusion. Sometimes this is a requirement of a second short paragraph at the end after your final statement from your discussion, but it can sometimes be included within that final statement. The conclusions that you make should be for every purpose stated in your introduction. You state what you found. This could be qualitative or quantitative results. Anything significant that you talked about within your analysis should also be in that conclusion. If you need a separate conclusion section, it should be 2 to 3 sentences. If it's included in the discussion, then it's probably just one final statement at the end of the discussion, summing up everything that you talked about in that last paragraph.